Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oghren, the drunken Berserker of Orzammar. A personal favorite companion of mine. Oghren is most known for his vulgar humor and drinking problem, but behind that is one of the most tragic stories in all of Dragon Age. Let's begin, shall we? Oghren was born to House Konrad, a low-ranking house of the warrior caste in the dwarven city of Orzammar. At a young age, Oghren showed remarkable talent for fighting, winning some renown in the provings, the dwarven ritualistic fights to show whom the ancestors favor. His greatest strength was his unpredictability, often playing mind games with his opponent. He would bait them into countering an attack, and at the last second change his maneuver, which left his opponents wide open. Oghren was selected to become a Berserker, warriors who learn to embrace the rage of battle, let it fuel them, so they cannot fall, no matter how grave their injuries, until their last foe has been slain. During one of the many campaigns to reclaim the Deep Roads, the underground tunnels that once upon a time connected the vast Dwarven Empire from the Darkspawn, Orzammar sent a company of Berserkers, including Oghren, to the front lines, where they could do the most damage. Oghren felt alive in the fires of battle. Everything was simple, it made sense. Just your goal and the foes that stood in your way. Oghren was never afraid of dying. On his hip flask he scratched, "One for the ditch," predicting where and when his last drink would be. Oghren won honors in the Deep Roads, and when the campaign was called off, as always with little to no ground gained, he returned home a hero. His house grew in stature thanks to Oghren's achievements, and he was popular. Women were enchanted by the red-haired hero, who could fight and drink with the best of them. But Oghren found it hard to adapt to a normal life again. He had been trained to kill. That was the one thing he was good at. And now he was expected to put his weapon aside. He disliked the provings in particular. All the rules and ceremony, that wasn't battle. Despite all that, Oghren did start to fancy a young merchant caste girl named Felsi. She was just as vulgar as he was, and they often traded creative insults in jest. But before they could pursue their relationship in full, House Konrad informed Oghren that they had arranged a marriage for him. The fame House Konrad had gained thanks to Oghren had attracted the attention of one of Orzammar's wealthiest smith caste families, and they proposed a match. Oghren was to marry a girl called Branka, a brilliant smith. At first Oghren found happiness in his marriage. Branka was odd and different, and he liked that. She didn't fit into the norms of dwarven society any more than he did. But barely a year into their marriage, Branka invented a new form of coal. It burned hotter, but didn't emit smoke. It increased the output of the smith caste by a third, and severely decreased the cases of black lung. For this groundbreaking achievement, Branka was named a paragon, a dwarf who is considered a living ancestor, and founded the noble House Branka. House Konrad voted to merge with this new noble house. The responsibilities of a paragon weighed heavily on Oghren and Branka's marriage, and it started to fall apart. Branka was always busy with one invention or another. The two barely spoke to each other. Oghren started drinking heavily, and Branka began an affair with Oghren's cousin Hespit, an affair which everyone but Oghren was aware of. Oghren still loved Branka, but the disdain Branka felt for her husband spread throughout the rest of House Branka, and soon Oghren found himself shunned and ignored by his own family. This went on for many years, and Oghren fell into a deep depression. In the year 928 Dragon, Branka started to become obsessed with the Anvil of the Void, a legendary tool made by the paragon smith Caridon during the First Blight. It had the ability to create golems, giant creatures built from stone or metal. The anvil had been lost when the Darkspawn had overtaken Ortan Taig. If she could find the anvil, she could create an army of golems and drive the Darkspawn back. Branka left Orzammar, taking her entire house with her into the Deep Roads in search of the Anvil of the Void. Everyone except Oghren. In a fruitless attempt to forget Branka, Oghren renewed his relationship with Felsi, but it didn't last. After making a drunken scene at the funeral of Felsi's father, Felsi cut ties with Oghren, saying he was no longer the man she had once loved, and she left for the surface to live with her mother. The drunken Oghren became the laughingstock of Orzammar, yelling at nobles and drowning himself in ale at the local tavern, Tapster's. Oghren's situation worsened when the youngest son of House Mino insinuated that there was no way Branka had survived the deep roads all this time. Seeing this as an insult to his wife and paragon, Oghren challenged a young warrior to a battle to first blood, but in a drunken state he killed the lad. Oghren was stripped of his status as a noble and was forbidden to bear arms within the city. Separating a member of the warrior caste from their weapon is considered the greatest insult imaginable, essentially saying they no longer have a place as a warrior, and with it, no longer a place in Orzammar's society. Oghren spent the next 2 years petitioning the dwarven ruling body, the Assembly, to send a search party after Branka, but the ever-bureaucratic Assembly did nothing. In 930 Dragon, the political schemes and games of Orzammar came to a head. The king, Endrunai Dukan, had died, and 2 candidates were fighting for the throne. His son Balin, who some say had betrayed and killed his oldest brother, and had the middle sibling take the fall, and Pyrrol Heromond, the king's trusted second. With neither candidate reaching a majority in the assembly, it was chaos. Fanatics from both sides fighting in the streets and no king to restore order. During this event, the Grey Warden came to Orzammar, looking for aid from the dwarves against the blight that had begun in Ferelden. Early on, Oghren didn't think much of the Warden, another fool playing at politics. In their first interaction, he was brusque with the young Warden. "Sod off," he said. In order to break the political deadlock, the assembly needed someone with the authority to decide who should be king, like a paragon. The warden was sent into the deep roads to look for Branka. Oghren, finally seeing a chance to find his lost wife, offered to come along. The warden could either reject Oghren's offer, in which case he would go back to Tapsters and drown himself in ale. But if the warden accepted his offer, they went into the deep roads in search of Branka. Oghren and the warden traveled to Ortan Taig, home of Caridin, creator of the Anvil of the Void, and found signs Branka had been there. She was heading to the Death Trenches, the giant chasms filled with darkspawn, which no one had ever managed to traverse alive. They ran into many horrors along the way. They even saw the archdemon there. And then finally, they found her. Branka had gone mad in search of the Anvil of the Void. She had sacrificed her entire house to get to it. Caridin had protected his greatest creation with many traps. Branka realized that without people to test those deadly traps, she would never get to the Anvil. And so she had given the members of her house to the Darkspawn. Darkspawn may be foul creatures who kill almost anything they see, but in an even fouler act of sadistic malice and survival, they capture females and turn them into something monstrous. In a process equal parts corruption and rape, they turn these females into broodmothers to birth more Darkspawn. Branka now had a near inexhaustible supply of Darkspawn to test Caridin's defenses, and she was almost there. Upon seeing what his wife had become, Oghren's last hope, that final pillar that had held what was left of his life together, collapsed. Branka didn't care about the plight of Orzammar and its succession problem, but if the warden helped her to get the Anvil, she would appoint as king whomever the warden wished. And so the warden helped her find it. And find it they did. The Anvil was protected by Caridin himself. The Paragon Smith had refused to create more golems as they required a person to be sacrificed to serve as soul for the construct. And the Dwarven King had turned Caridin into a golem as punishment. Caridin and Branka both made an appeal to the warden to help them. Branka wanted to keep the Anvil, to build more golems, while Caridin wanted to destroy it. The warden could choose to support either, but whoever was chosen made a crown to give to whom the warden thought was worthy of the throne. The warden returned to Orzammar and crowned a king. Oghren realized that there was nothing left for him in this city, and he chose to follow the warden against the blight. When Oghren came to the surface for the first time and he saw the sky, he was shocked. Dwarves were told that without a ceiling, they would fall into all that sky. But after he got used to it, Oghren found the surface greatly to his liking. No one there knew him or his history, and the ale was far superior. Oghren and the warden had many adventures, and he even reunited with Felsi on the surface. In the decisive battle of Denerim, Oghren felt like a true warrior once more, thanks in part to the Warden, and he slew Darkspawn left and right. After the Blight was defeated and the Archdemon slain, Oghren settled down with Felsi and even had a child. But his insecurities ran too deep, and it wasn't long before Oghren turned to drinking again. He thought he wasn't meant to be a father. Him not being there would be better for the child. Killing Darkspawn was what he was made for, and so without a word to Felsi, he left to join the Wardens at Vigil's Keep. But soon after arriving, the keep was attacked by Darkspawn. Together with the newly appointed Warden Commander, Oghren managed to beat the Darkspawn back, but in doing so they discovered something truly shocking. The attack had been led by a Darkspawn capable of intelligent speech. Surviving the joining ritual, Oghren joined the Warden Commander on a quest to find out why the Darkspawn hadn't returned underground after the Archdemon was killed, as was a custom, and to find the truth behind the appearance of the talking Darkspawn. Oghren once again proved his worth in battle after battle. One day, Felsi showed up at Vigil's Keep asking after Oghren, and if he intended to help raise his child. The Warden Commander could either insist Oghren take a more active role in raising his child, or choose not to. Some say Oghren died at Vigil's Keep, defending the fortress from hordes of Darkspawn, but more say he survived. After defeating the Mother, a mad Darkspawn broodmother given sentience by a mysterious Darkspawn known as the Architect, Oghren stayed with the Order, regaling young Wardens with stories of his prowess in fighting and drinking, the two things he was made for. And that's the story of Oghren, a broken dwarf who, despite appearances, had good intentions, and given the chance for redemption, was capable of great deeds of courage. Before we go, I wanted to read a letter from Oghren to his child. I feel this letter illustrates his mindset really well. Hey there, Nugget. It's your Da. You probably don't remember me, and that's good. You're better off with just your ma. She's a good one. Hang on to her. There's a big fight coming up, and I thought I should say this before I lose the chance to say it at all. I'm a Grey Warden now, and there's really no way around it. We don't live very long. If not tomorrow, it'll be soon. I just feel it. Nuggets, I want to say I'm sorry I left. I want the best for you, even if it doesn't seem like it sometimes, or all the time. But it's true. You were the only good thing that came out of Oghren, after all is said and done. Not being there was the best I had to give. Maybe if your ma's alright with it, you can ask her to tell you about the first time we met, when I was a real warrior. I didn't do right by her. I'm trying to do right by you. Before we do the whole like, subscribe, blah 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 spiel, I want to talk for a moment about the style of this video. I myself much prefer the style of this video compared to the patchwork style of the last one, but it does come with some challenges. All the character models in this video were made in the Dragon Age Inquisition character creator, with additional Photoshop when needed, which means for characters that appear in Origins, they will look a bit different. You just can't copy facial features from one engine to another and have everything look correct. That's just not how it works. I do hope to get better at this, so characters will look more like themselves. Also, Inquisition has really bad red hair options, so Oghren's hair is darker than it's supposed to be. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can hit the like button, and you can subscribe if you want to see more. Anyway, I've been Ragnasocks, and I hope to see you next time.